Welcome back to the show!
Welcome back to the show!
And now, your hosts of the Card Subject to Change podcast, the For Frequency's Sake Tag Team Champions of the World, the Wizard CZ, and Never Wrong, Nick Gold.
Hello, everybody. I am the Wizard CZ, and you are tuned in to Card Subject to Change, the podcast by the fan for the fan, powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo. We are coming off a really big weekend here, and I just got word Never Wrong is on his way. Got a little delayed by some technical issues, but that's okay. I'll bring him in as soon as he's on, but we're going to get things started. First and foremost, I want to give a shout out to Ricky and Diana Lee, who hosted the Sandra Lee Memorial Car Show, the 4th annual Sandra Lee Memorial Car Show yesterday. Very excited to have been a part of that. Ricky, of course, in the comments saying, "What's up, Ricky? How you doing, my friend?" We were so happy to be able to talk to Buff Bagwell, the Headbangers, Lash LaRue, and Ricky and Diana themselves. It was a great time. If you didn't make it to the event, there's always next year, but they raised some good funds for the Autism Society of the Quad Cities. I'll let him announce that once he's got the figures calculated. I'm not going to spoil anything on their end. But it was a good time had by all. Like I said, when my tag team partner is here, I'll bring him into the room, but I'm not going to delay much longer here. Like I said, we were working through some technical issues here. We have a guest in studio, and I'm excited to bring him in. He is one half of the 319 Waterloo native and absolute pro wrestling star, Mr. Jay Wesley. Jay, how you doing, my friend?
I'm good. How are you? Pleasure to be on the show.
Hey, thanks for coming on. We appreciate that. I am going to start by asking you the same question that gets asked to all of our first-time guests, and just let you have at it. Why pro wrestling? What was it that got you hooked?
Oh, geez. That start me off with the hard questions. I see. Okay. We're gonna get easier, I hope. But man, that's a good question. I couldn't really. I don't know if there's really a pinpoint, like exactly where I could put it. But my dad was into wrestling, so that's like him watching, I was watching it, sort of thing. And it just more and more we'd go to the live events in Cedar Rapids and at the Powerhouse, whatever it is now, the former U.S. Cellular Center, Five Seasons Center, whatever you want to call it. But we'd go there. There was a really cool time where actually I caught Kofi Kingston's T-shirt. It was about to land in my brother's lap, but he wasn't paying attention. He was looking at the program or something, so I snagged it. But it was just memories like that, going to the house shows and just seeing everything, and there's something that it was really special about it that I could feel like there was a passion in it, and something that really really dug me in there. And as I got older, I just I dug more into it. I started to learn more about the history of it. I started to learn the not the legality, but the rules of pro wrestling, and stuff like that. And I decided that I'm gonna be a pro wrestler when I was, 12 or 13. I was like, this is what I'm gonna do. So
What?
that's kind of, I guess.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say that's kind of, I guess, how it kind of all came full circle into now, So
Absolutely. What was that moment that made you decide this is what I have to do?
it's some of the smaller things, and I don't even like saying it on camera because like that's it's almost defeating the purpose of it. But like one of the biggest things is the impact that you can put on another person. I'm gonna use John Cena as an example. Like all of those like make a wishes and stuff that he's granted over the years. It's stuff like that like it's stuff outside the ring that and like I don't want to do it for the the fame and the publicity or anything, but being able to make somebody or being able to give somebody the hope and passion, even if it's 1 out of 100 million people, that's what really drives me in this business.
Absolutely. And Nick has got past his technical issues. Welcome to the show,
Oh,
Nick.
I am here from the past all the way now into the future. How are you guys doing?
yeah, you
I'm great. I'm great. Did you ask him the first question I always ask, CZ?
I did. I pulled the Band-Aid off right away. I'm
I'm
sorry.
glad you did. I'm glad you did. I'm glad you did. Well, I
We were
apologize
talking.
for technical difficulties. I have landed, and here we are. We have Jay Wesley in here. We know him from Absolute Pro Wrestling. Jay, I'm going into this conversation blind because I don't know what you and CZ have been talking about.
Oh, just
What's-
talking trash about you. No, I'm just
Oh,
kidding.
hey, that's why my ears were burning. That's why they were burning. What's the best part about being in the ring?
About being in the ring. Honestly, I mean, I feel like it's probably cornball answer, but it's honestly the fans. You know, it's really what drives me. There was a show that I did a couple weeks ago, and it was like there was a moment where I was like, I don't know if it was before the match or after the match, we'd won, whatever, but like, I was just standing on the ropes and I was just taking in all that energy. You just
Sure.
feel it and just goes in you and just pumps your blood and it was something that it just makes you believe even more in what you're doing when even if it's a crowd that is a heckling crowd or whatever, when they're behind it, it just gives you that. So yeah, to the it's the fans for me. That energy that I get from them, that's what drives me. That's the best thing about being in the ring. Outside of working with amazing guys and being able to do cool moves or whatever, like or being able to tag with Ethan, stuff like that. But it's really the fans that bring everything together. So
And on that note, it's got to be so much more special doing that in your hometown in front of your friends and family in Waterloo, right?
of course, yeah, and sometimes sometimes it's a little too much because there's some friends and family that get a little carried away and want to bring us on, but no, Jay Wesley loves it, and it means a lot because honestly, when I started, I didn't expect a single soul in my family, didn't expect a friend, didn't expect anybody to show up to my shows, and I still do that, even though I have a constant people that show up to my shows every time, and it's awesome. I love them for that. But it's just I still don't expect them to show up to every show, but I love that they do, and it means a lot to me because, like I said, it drives me even more.
So I want to kind of talk about something we talk with new guests sometimes about. I want to hear what it's like for you when you had your first match. Coming out of training, what was it like stepping in the ring that first time?
Look at his eyes. Look at his eyes.
They caught it, yeah.
You made his eyes. You made his eyes get big.
I was gonna say, this is so. I guess so. If you go back to my first match, I trained at the Impact Pro Wrestling here in Iowa's the Vault,
Yep.
in Collins, Iowa, and was located there. And in my class, I was one of two. So it was a very intimate class. Being able to work with James Jeffries or Travis if James wasn't there, whatever the case may be. TS Aggressor, Travis Shillington, I should say. I
Sure.
guess not everybody knows who Travis is off Travs, but uh, whoever it was, being able, it was a very intimate setting, and so our first match actually was they they were doing like the local Collins days or whatever they called it. Where they had the parade through, and obviously the vault was right on Main Street, because there wasn't any more than Main Street in Collins, I don't think. But
Sure.
oh, so it was me and my training partner, and we worked a match in front of, like, on the first or second show, in front of a few people in the vault, and going back, I'm sure it wasn't pretty, but I'm proud of it, looking back at it, and knowing that we were able to get through it. And there's probably some times we look like idiots, but I still look like an idiot in the ring today. So
Well, there's times on this show where Nick looks like an idiot, and I forgive him for it.
Absolutely.
oh,
Absolutely.
I probably do too. I just want to throw.
And you know what? You probably felt like $1 million after that first match, and just
yeah.
But now
Oh my
looking
gosh.
back on it, like you're so much further down the road than that. But I would have felt like $1 million if I got through, match number 1.
No, and I did, and it was such like a stressful time because the guy that I trained with, he had missed a few weeks, and so there was some small stuff that he didn't know or that he was still trying to catch up on, and so having to try to James really produced that whole match. I don't like to dig too deep into the backstage, but James, there's not a lot of producing that goes on in the independent scene wrestling, but James Jeffries really stepped up in that situation because I think he could tell and see my, already being, nervous and stuff for my first match, and seeing that my opponent didn't seem necessarily ready or nervous as well, super nervous as well. So he was, so James did a really good job helping us produce that match and really getting us through it. It was something where at the time I was a jerk, but a bad guy, but it felt good, like you said, walking out and being able to walk back past that curtain and being like, hell yeah, I just had my first wrestling match. This is what I wanted to do, and I
Sure.
said I did it. I said I was going to do it, and I did it.
We're joined by Jay Wesley here on the Card Subject to Change podcast by the fan, for the fan. Of course, we are powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, and colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo. Jay, what is a wrestler you like to go back? It doesn't have to be the greatest wrestler in the world. It doesn't have to be your favorite wrestler, but like, what's a wrestler's matches you like to go back and watch?
Bret Hart.
Yes, I like this guy already.
There's no doubt.
Let's talk about Bret. There you go. There's your question. Let's talk about Bret.
Greatest of all time. Vince screwed Bret. He was in the right. He had creative control, legally, everything. Just put that out there.
Well, what matches of Bret do you enjoy? I'm looking forward to this.
Oh God! So actually, I'm gonna throw some crazy ones in there because
I love it, man. I'm always looking for. I asked this question. Everybody's like, "Oh, that's such a great question." I asked this question. Actually, it's a question for me because then I got something to go watch because I'm always looking for something to go back and watch. So this is how I get something out of the show. No, I'm just kidding. This is
no. Oh yeah, I love that though. Honestly, because that's how everybody learns, and you get the privilege and the history of pro wrestling.
Yep.
It just, I don't know, it's a completely different world. But I'll sit and I'll watch on the WWE Network or Peacock or Netflix, wherever whatever it is. They have old Bret Hart Coliseum video tapes in there. So there's a couple of them in there, and there's one with a match, and it's so basic and just so small and structured, but it's Bret versus Jerry Lawler on a Coliseum home video exclusive, and it's just so little shit. Pardon my language. There's just so little things that they do, and it's just so fun, and just seeing the way that Bret and Jerry work together, and then how they play that match out, how it all comes to the end where Jerry had poked the referee in the eye, or excuse me, Brett had accidentally hit Timmy White, and then Jerry Lawler took the crown and hit Brett in the eye when Timmy White was still kind of down, and then
Sure.
Lawler had his feet on the ropes, and then another referee comes down and says, "No, that didn't happen," and then the match has to restart, otherwise Jerry Lawler's suspended, and Gorilla Monsoon, you better get his butt back out here.
Yes, I love it, dude. You're painting a beautiful picture, man. I gotta find this. I gotta find this Coliseum home video. We're gonna keep you on. We're gonna keep you on after the show so I can figure out where this one is because I definitely gotta get back. I know everybody. Brett always when you hear Brett, you always think of Brett and Sean, but Brett and Lawler. I thought Lawler was the perfect muse to what Bret Hart stood for. Brett was 100%. Everything, like doing it the right way and hard work and it's going to pay off and I'm doing the right thing. And Lawler would just cheat. And he was a great cheater. And he was such a sissy. And I'm going to say, this is a compliment to Jerry Lawler. He was such a sissy chicken shit. Everybody in that building wanted to kill him. Everybody wanted to kill him. So him and Hart together, I really like their stuff. Like the whole kiss my foot thing, whatever. That works because it's right. Too. But man, Lawler, I always thought was a perfect muse for Bret Hart.
Yeah, it's there's another match with I can't remember if it's Bo or Blake Beverly.
Okay,
Bret works. And it's a singles match that they're working, and the whole time, with Bobby Heenan on commentary too. He's being a stooge, and Jim Ross, and I believe it was Macho Man, and half the time they're not even talking about the match because Bobby Heenan's saying something about a tag team match, and they're like, "It's not a tag team match. You're not even talking about anything pertinent," as Macho Man said it, and but just doing the match, and it's some of the most, just like basic stuff. It is, it's just cool stuff that you just see, and then they do the switcheroo, and Bo or Blake switches out, and then Brett gets screwed, and it's a gross travesty of justice, and we gotta, and then it gets turned around, the match gets flipped, and Brett wins again, and there's a lot of Brett wins LOL out there, and I don't know if people know that, but sometimes. But
I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do.
Well, yeah, the Brett haters really do. And then there's another match where he works with Bam Bam Bigelow, and it's not the King of the Ring match. It's not
the King of the Ring. Okay.
Besides that one being absolutely amazing as well. It's just a match. Brett was early in his, I think it was early in his first WWF at the time WWE Championship reign.
Okay.
And he went one-on-one with Bam Bam, and it was so good and there's stuff that from that match that I use in my matches still today and try to throw it in because it's so good. And I actually did at the last Waterloo show, so it actually saying that because it's just such a dichotomy where I'm able to see, okay, Brett's the smaller man, and he's using his quickness and his speed or the high flying aspect to get up on the big man. And I was facing Victor Payne, so I was like, well, how am I going to get over on him? I got to be able to get up on him, take it to the sky, or use my quickness and speed. So yeah, it's just
so being the big Bret Hart fan that you are, I got to ask, how do you feel about Bill Goldberg? I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No, Goldberg is he did some things for the industry, but I mean, Bret could have been wrestling at WrestleMania 26, not under all of the legal aspects, possibly, could have,
I'll tell you what, Bill,
Sean retired at 26.
I'm glad the repair or the relationships were repaired. I'm glad there's none of that outstanding. Like, I'm glad everybody mended fences over that, and bygones are bygones. As much as I was on Bret's side in that, like, I'm so glad, like, those guys have quote unquote made up.
Yeah, I agree, and like that's also even though Brett's a grumpy old man, but that's the best part about him. I'm sure everybody saw.
He's a grumpy old man, and everybody's like, "Oh, he bitches, he complains." This was his life. This was all he wanted to do. This is it. This was it. He was cut from the cloth. Like he was the man for it, and it got taken away from him. So I guess if I was like in his shoes, and I got kicked in the head by Bill Goldberg, I love how everything is Bill Goldberg. It's not Goldberg. It's Bill Goldberg.
It's not SummerSlam. It's not Survivor Series. It's the Survivor Series, the SummerSlam.
Yep. Yeah, but I could see. I would be bitter too. I would be bitter too. And maybe he gets a free pass because he's one of my all-time favorites. But maybe not. But I'll tell you, he deserved better.
Yeah, no, I agree.
He absolutely deserved better.
Like I said, it's like that unknown of how long could he have gone on after that. That wouldn't have happened with Goldberg.
You never know. How does what happens with him and Stone Cold? What does that turn into?
Right.
Like that could have been so much more, way more than what the abbreviated what it was. The little like their little 10-man they had at the Canadian Stampede in your house. Like it could have been so much more than that. And I think we got the tip of the iceberg with Owen and Stone Cold, and with Owen, Stone Cold slipping and hurting his neck in that match, breaking his neck, but. I think there's so much more there, but the time ended for Brett in the WWE. But yeah, dude, that's great. I like you even more that you are a Bret Hart dude. That is cool, man. That is absolutely cool.
You've won Nick over, and I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, you won me over too. Don't get me wrong, but I'm a Shawn Michaels guy. I have a lot of respect and love for Bret, but I'm the Shawn Michaels guy of the group. Jay, we have a question in our comments that I think is a fantastic question, and I'm going to bring it up here. Our friend Ricky says, when you hear the word wrestling, what comes to mind? Just someone says the word wrestling. What's the first thing you think of?
Man, captivating. I mean, I can't really. So I'm not one that can really picture images in my head often, but just being asked that question there, I picture like that classic title belt design where the two guys are grappled up, like collar to elbow, and that design and just it getting bigger and bigger from that to what we are today. It's just captivating. Because wrestling is so, it's shit on and whatever half the time, but if people really looked at it for what it is, it's so captivating and it's so exhilarating, it's so emotional, and it's so, if you just buy into the fact that, these people are people, even if they're a character or whatever.
Yes.
They are this person. The Undertaker was always the Undertaker. So that's just that to me. It's captivating. I guess I don't know if that is the word they were looking for. Ricky was looking for, but yeah, captivating is kind of.
I think that's
my first thought.
That's a great way to describe it.
Jay, are you keeping up with current product? What piques your interest today? What's something you're like, man, I gotta see what so and so's doing. I don't miss any of these, this person's matches. Who do you follow? Who catches your eye of the current product?
So I do. I am able to catch up. I am able to watch Raw a lot because of the Netflix, which is amazing.
Sure. What a sweet aren't they just knocking it out of the park on there?
Yes.
Like I love the time length. Like they've trimmed out all the crap, and now we've got like a 2-hour, 25 to 40-minute program, and they've done the presentation's awesome. Kudos to them.
Lee Fitting from, I think he was from ESPN. Like I was watching Game 7 with that.
Lee Fetting. Yes. You're right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, the producer, yes. But Joe Dos Torres as well also was doing a great job on commentary,
Yep.
and I was worried about him at first. But I was watching an NHL game, the Game 7 of Dallas versus Colorado last night, and I could just see the way, like, some of the factoids and everything, and I was like, oh, wow, you can really tell that, like, Lee Fitting kind of had a structure of how ESPN structures their all their production and everything, and how WWE started to do that. It's really cool to see.
For
Um,
sure.
but I guess if there's Cody is a big guy that I really kind of is my kind of guy right now.
Yep.
I love watching his matches. CM Punk. Uh, I don't get to catch up on him as much, but I love to see Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin and MVP in the Hurt
Oh.
Business, Hurt Syndicate.
I love how they've got "We Hurt People." They got the crowd chanting that. That is so cool. I like all those guys. I'm happy they are getting on TV
Yes.
regularly. I'm happy that they're getting focused on.
And they're being stars. And and I'm not trying to sound like Jimmy Cornette, but like those guys look like stars compared to some of the other people. And
Oh,
Bobby and Shelton and MVP are walking out in these 3-piece suits, and
yes, sir.
somebody's
Yes,
walking
sir.
out in sweatpants and a t-shirt. Like, as someone that thinks that I could just walk out in sweatpants and a t-shirt because that's just me, I can't walk out in sweatpants and a t-shirt. I really can't. I should be dressed up. It's one of those things that when you kind of grow in this business, you're like, yeah, that makes sense. Why would I not dress the professional part? So.
Right. And at that level, you have to kind of dress the part to fit in there and prove and show that you belong there, don't you?
Yeah, it's exactly. I was about to say it's exactly like getting in the ring and wrestling. If you don't have that confidence in yourself, and if you don't have
Right.
that, I'm Jay Wesley. You're not. Nobody. I can't. If I don't believe it, they're not going to believe it.
You're absolutely right, because fans can see through it a mile away.
Yes.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
And a lot of guys, like, I don't know if a lot of guys don't necessarily realize that, because they'll be out there, they can go out there and they can be like, oh, nobody noticed, but people can notice. And there's times where I've gone out there and I've hit the curtain, and I'm one of those guys. I don't like to really like check out the curtain and see how many people are there before the show. So basically, anytime I hit the entrance is the first time I'm seeing the crowd. And there's been a show where I've worked, and I hit the crowd, and I was like, "Let's go!" And there's nobody there, and I'm like, "Oh, I just kind of died." And so, I had to manufacture that passion, try to work it. But
Is that a superstition of yours? You don't want to see the ring till it's time to come out, or is that how you've always done? Is that how you've always done it, or is that just something? I don't know. I know some people are very superstitious, so I didn't know if that was a superstition or not.
I don't know if it's a superstition thing or not, but it's just something that I like that natural feeling of going out there and being able to get that crowd's energy before like, so that even sometimes I'm even like selling merch beforehand before the show, because you could see the crowd. I like seeing the crowd for the first time right through the curtain, and and there's nothing against if you do. It's you see if you're gonna have a good crowd, but I love seeing the crowd like right out of there. It's like, I take it kind of from Jim Ross, where he's like, some of the best calls that him and Lawler had were when they didn't know the finish. So it's like,
didn't want to know it, wanted to be surprised. Yep.
Yes. And if I go out there knowing that it's a horrible crowd, or there's 4 people out there, I'm not gonna want to go out there and push it. So if I go out there and see 4 people, I can manufacture, that passion if I need to, if these people aren't getting up behind me. But because it takes a crowd sometimes. But some of the small crowds can be real good too. So
Which walk us through that when you come out the curtain and the crowd just isn't with it. What's going through your mind to, okay, how do I get these guys involved in the match?
Usually it's shit at first or fuck, but and then depending on if I'm coming out with Ethan, I'll be like, gosh damn it, we're in for it. But really by the time, I feel like a lot of the times we opened up a show last week, not last week, the week before for Social X, I think it was. I don't know, but we hit the stage, and I was like, it was one of those times where it's like, okay, this crowd's, it seemed like it was a little smaller. There was more space than from when we faced Rhino and Heath, but I was like, okay, they're still, kind of getting under it. By the time we got in the ring and everybody, it's really just that believing in yourself thing and turning you up to 11 to make them believe. So that's really the main thing to me is it right there is how I try to get the crowd into it is really go to that participation of the crowd, really show, hey, you're a part of this too. This is not just me. You came to see me, but you're a part of this.
I'm glad you mentioned Social Experiment. I'm glad you mentioned Social X because you on that first ever show, were in the ring with two legends, Heath and Rhino. Talk about that experience. First of all, headlining the first show of a company. Second of all, being in with two stars like Rhino and Heath.
Absolutely incredible. It was something that I definitely didn't expect. I think originally going into that show, I was supposed to be in the six-man scramble for the Red X Championship, uh, and people had dropped out, um, whatever, and the promoter Jason Pringle was trying to figure out what he was gonna do, and he was renting Austin Bayless's ring, and Austin Bayless was like, "You have Heath and Rhino still, right?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, they were a tag team in WWE." He's like, "What do you have Ethan doing?" He's like, "Well, I think he's doing this." He's like, "Well, what is Jay doing?" "Well, I don't really know now because all the people can't." He's like, "They tag 30 minutes down the street. So he's like, "Why not do 319 and Heath and Rhino?" And Jason was like, "Yeah, sure." So he threw us a bone and he gave us an opportunity, and uh, I don't like to sound you know overzealous or anything, but I think we did a pretty good job, and I think we kind of killed it, and that also gives a lot of to Austin Bayless for helping us and really putting us over and saying, hey, these kids, you can put these kids in the ring with them and trust them with these top tier WWE stars that have been in the business forever, and you know whatever, like Rhino and has got so much history. Keith has obviously got so much history. I mean,
It,
it was actually really funny because when I was, I don't know if it was after, during, or before the match, but I was talking to Heath and I was like, I had said something about Bret Hart, and he had mentioned that he basically worked Bret Hart for a year straight with the Nexus stuff, and I was like,
yeah.
oh my god, yeah, yeah, you did. I was like, so that was just one of those cool things. But no, it was awesome. They're both really down to earth guys. We were able, have a good respect, and I think we did a good job for Social X. That crowd was amazing in that smaller environment, and that crowd was packed, and they were giving us that energy. And I remember like at one point, I'm kind of glad I didn't get caught on camera, but like Heath and Rhino were coming out. I remember just standing in the ring, and I could just feel the fucking my ear, grin to grin, my grin ear to ear, and just I was like, God damn, I look like an idiot probably, standing here smiling while these big fucking muscle heads are coming at me, and but it was just a really cool moment. I was like, this is really cool, and my family, my mom and my dad, and my stepmom, were there, and so that was a cool moment as well. For for them to see that. And like I said, like my dad, like really the whole reason like I got into wrestling to begin with, and then getting into the business and actually starting to work. And so for my dad, he was really, there's a few times where you can see that he's like really proud of you, or when your dad's really proud of you, and it's just you can see it in his eyes, and even if he tells you, but it was one of those moments that I could just tell like how excited he was, and he was able to be a fan, not only
Sure.
because I was Jay Wesley, but or because I was his kid, but be able to watch him, just be really proud of, you know, seeing how far that I came, and this less than 5 year span since I started.
Well, I imagine with like Rhino and Heath standing across the ring from you, the match automatically feels different. But what feels different about it when you're working with guys who have worked at that level for so long?
It was great. Because to me, like, there's a lot of stuff that I have a certain way when I work matches. I don't like to talk a lot or whatever,
Right.
like give me the finish, type thing. And so Heath and Rhino were kind of like that a little bit more. And so that's where I find my best natural chemistry is when I'm just going out there in the ring with the guy and just kind of wrestling with him. Just
Sure.
kind of,
Sure.
not nothing's, choreographed. We're not, doing anything special. It's just, we have an idea in hand, but so being able to work with guys that are just so smooth and be able to take care of you, and you really learn like they gave us like some critiques obviously after the match, but the only thing that they had said was one thing, and it was the slightest of things. And he's, Rhino's just like, but if that that thing could keep you from working with Taker, and if you're not working with Taker, you're not making money, sort of thing, whatever.
Right.
He's like, it's not. He's like, you didn't kill us with it, but you could just lighten up a little bit with some of those things. And it was just, it was really cool. He said the same thing and shared a story about uh, Randy Orton scaring the Nexus as young lads there, but and it was just, it was a really cool thing. And like, I was like, okay, that makes sense. I mean, it all makes sense. It's
Sure.
one of those things where it's like, you get that different perspective and you learn, okay, from the top of the industry, how this is really done, even though you were trained correctly, and that, because like for me, like the guy that I was trained by Harley Race. You know what I mean? Like, so there's a lot of lineage there, and people obviously know, there's not a buffer of the information there that I receive. So it's just cool to hear that other insights, because everybody works different. And so to be able to know, like, because there's that WWE style, that's why you see a lot of like people that are free agents or whatever disappear for a while, and then all of a sudden they're on WWE TV. They've been sitting at the PC learning the style, quote unquote. So it's just really neat to be able to learn kind of some of that small stuff, because
For
obviously the
sure.
goal
For sure.
to make it
Yeah.
to WWE one day. So to be able to go in with some of that small critiqued knowledge, and being able to apply that maybe one day, that's just so cool to me. And so that, I don't know, that's the biggest thing I got out of it, I guess. I don't know if that answered the question. I don't know if that was
You know,
No, 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 no. I just no
long.
that's no. I know what you mean. No, I liked it. That was a good answer.
that I kind of want to play off of that a little bit. You said something that struck with home with me, and that's everybody works different. I want to ask this: what is the best piece of advice that anyone has given you in or outside of the ring?
Well, um, politically, as wrestling can be a very political business, probably the best piece of advice Two, I give you two because they're both really important to me and they kind of corresponded at the same time. And that's you can listen to everybody out there, but just be careful when you take that information in, who's telling it to you, and to filter it with a grain of salt or whatever, And then there's, some situation where I had some, there's miscommunication with the promotion, whatever, but somebody had told me, hey, listen, just because they play ball doesn't mean nobody else plays ball. There's always other places. You don't have to work for them if you don't want to. So that's what happened. I don't think I've worked for them, honestly, since then. And I've been with APW a lot, and they put me on, and they really helped me out. So, but yeah, those are really kind of the best pieces of information that I've received. I know it's just politically, but
No. I mean, I think everybody know. I mean,
That's
just
good.
with about any walk of life that there's politics involved to some extent.
Yeah,
So and wrestling's no different. So
wrestling is like
as different as wrestling is, it's no different here.
no, no. It's all the same. You just can't punch people as freely, you know.
It's not like it is on TV.
No, no. As much as I wish I could just go up to my coworker sometime,
Yeah, yeah.
Oh shoot.
Jay, you brought up Absolute Pro Wrestling, and of course we have to. The name of the episode is from the 319, so we got to talk about the 319.
hell yeah.
First of all, talk about your partnership with Ethan Everhard, and secondly, after you kind of talk about how that came to be, I want to know what it felt like to carry APW's tag team champions for a while there.
So, Jason Prentice, he likes to he take credit for putting us together, kind of like Bill Watts takes credit for the Freebirds and whatnot. But he did put us together. Jason Prentice did put us together, but and really kind of let us be the 319. Me and uh, always we were close. You know, we knew each other before wrestling a little bit, so because we had gone to the same high school and stuff together. So like, we had in middle school, like, so we knew each other. Bypassing and stuff like that, and we were decently close. And it was at a kind of a point where I wasn't really doing anything, and Ethan was just kind of floating, and I was like, let me tag with Ethan. Come on, let me tag with Ethan. I had been saying it for probably before Ethan lost their heavyweight title. I was like, come on, let me tag with Ethan. I think me and Ethan could do really cool stuff and
Sure.
everything. So they gave us the chance, and it's gone from there. And it's really been able to build, and I've been able to market 319. And I'm so like the 319, like they came up. Jason Prentice came up with the name, but I mean, it's really my thing. I'm like, I'm a 319 guy. Like, I'm a big area code representative. I guess that makes sense. Like, it kind of stole from Ray. But it works. Rey Mysterio with the 619. I can work the 319. I'm like, hey, that makes sense still. We can still work that. And I'm like, I love representing where I'm from, representing my culture, like, and how I grew up. Uh, I don't like to talk different. I don't like to act different. I like to be me. And so, and that's who I am. I'm from the 319, and that's how I act, and that's how I talk, and that's how, so that's how it is. So, I like to represent the 319, and so being able to do that with the tag team as well is even more amazing. You know, for Ethan, I think it might slow him down sometimes. He probably feels like, but I think it's real special for me that he works with me, because he could do 10,000 other things and go out and work all these different promotions, big names probably if he wanted to. But you know, he sticks around and hangs out with me sometimes, and we do our tag stuff and have fun. And you know, that's special to me too. You know, and I'm not saying Ethan feels like that at all, but even if he did, you know, it's still special to me because you know, I wanted to see it happen, and we were able to make it happen, and we've been able to really train together and work out cool stuff. You know, moves, we can tag moves together, and you know, one of our like we just like he'll either send me Instagram reels or I'll send him Instagram reels or Facebook reels or whatever. I'll be watching Mid South Wrestling and I'll see a clip of the Midnight Express doing something crazy that I've never even seen before, and I send it to him. I'm like, we got to do this. We got to do this. Like, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
So, you know, on Snapchat, I'm like, you know, like I literally the last one I sent him was they did a Bobby Eaton tags in Dennis Condrey. Dennis Condrey gets up to the second rope. Bobby Eaton lifts him up in a suplex, hands him to Condrey into a power slam off the second rope. I was like, I've never seen that. How is nobody doing this?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
so and so I was like, we got to do it, you know, and that's the stuff I love because there's a lot of stuff like even my personal in ring style. Like I try to be different and I try to use stuff that you don't see a lot anymore, or you know, stuff that can be meaningful and can be used and impactful still. So you know, and but yeah, we're getting back with each. Like you know, it's been great being able to go out with Social X in there. We worked with CEW, Central Empire, with Austin Bayless, and hopefully we'll be doing some more dates with him soon. We'll find out, but it'll be exciting to see the future with 319 for sure, and even within APW as well. See where we're kind of headed there because we have that tag team title match on the 17th. And even though they want to mix it up and throw the big picture in there, uh, you know, big picture threw me around once with that F5, tossed me all the way in the air, but Ethan wasn't there that time. So I think when me and Ethan are fully together here, I think we have it, and I think we're going to be prepared for anything this time. So I, I think we're going to have the APW Championship tag championships back, and and being able to hold them. You know, despite having to follow the reign of Du Bois, who had a great tag title reign and did a lot for APW when they were starting out and everything. Being able to handed those titles, it's another thing that I get from Brett. You know, it's titles like you can say they don't mean anything, or you can say that somebody gave it to you or whatever. But to it as a pro wrestler that takes the business serious, and like those things really do mean something.
Sure.
And because
Yes.
whether it's subliminally or not subliminally, like this company is putting some trust in you to carry their championship, and they don't have to. But they see you that you're good enough, or they see that you have the potential or the money value in you, and you know, see that you're good enough and
The,
see if you're able
hey,
to run with it. You
the
know?
belts matter to the fans. The fans care who the
Yeah,
champs are and who the champs aren't.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And that's another thing with it. So I guess.
And you can tell that, I'll bring up the last show in Waterloo that Nick and I were at, where you lost the belts to the Free World. The fans were just livid.
Yes,
They were in an
I
uproar.
thought we were gonna have a riot.
But yeah, they belts mean something to the fans. They mean something to you as a wrestler. I have no doubt, because that shows that someone has the confidence in you
Exactly. Thank
to
you.
say, okay, he deserves to be on top.
Exactly. Yes. Thank you for
Excuse
simplifying
me.
it for me. 'Cause don't know words, but yeah.
Jay, I want to ask you. I want to go back to something you said. You were talking about sharing videos with Ethan, and so obviously you are a student of the game. You're watching tape. Who are some of the people other than say Brett and the Midnights that you're watching that influence you?
So right now, I'm actually getting real excited because I've been watching Mid South Wrestling, the old that they got on Peacock, and
Uh-huh.
Rock and Roll. Rock and Roll is getting to debut soon here, and so that's my next team that I'm kind of studying and want to watch and just
Hmm.
see how they work in the ring and the maneuvers that they do and how they work with Midnight and all that. So right now, like tag team wise, definitely like Rock and Roll Express is my top guys that I'm kind of paying attention to in study. And then I'd say probably like Macho Man right now is kind of my other guy that I've been really just like honed in on this last few weeks, especially, and just kind of trying to study his work and whether he was being a good guy or if he was a bad guy, and you know. And I wish I knew how to do that move where he jumps over the top rope and hangs him up, goes all the way to the floor when he goes all the way to the floor. But we're working on it. But, yeah, no. So Macho Man, Rock and Roll Express, they're I really like. I really started to like watch a lot of like Southern wrestling and territory wrestling recently, and just being able to see just the old styles and how it was different. Like I watched something a while back, and it was old Madison Square Garden stuff. It was just great, like just seeing the
Yeah,
evolution and the dichotomy of pro wrestling. And um, I love studying everything, even if it doesn't necessarily like if on the face of it, you would be like you could never do that for today audience because they're gonna lose interest right away or whatever.
Right.
But I think when you really study it and you like learn it, and you gotta that part of the issue is that we don't know how it like a lot of people don't understand like the psychology or the like why we got to this point sort of thing for that you know spot maneuver you want to call it like if the referee back in the day when the referee would kick the heels hands off the ropes and the
Yes.
baby face would finish
Yes.
and roll them up in 1 2 3 like people don't remember why the referee kicked the ropes or kicked the guy's hands. They just see that the referee kicked the guy's hands. They're not thinking about the fact that, oh, we got to establish that he's been
Yeah.
using the ropes all match and the referee's been trying to tell him, hey, stop it. That's illegal. But here we are. So, and then finally he's fed up and he kicks his hands off, so it's stuff like that. I just love watching that stuff and stuff you just don't see anymore. And I just, it's wrestling's a recyclable business, I guess you could say, because nothing's original in wrestling, especially
Right.
anymore. But
Right.
if you can put something and use it and make it mean something, like even like WWE did with the pile driver recently.
Right. Right.
You know, I mean, you go to the other channel and they're kicking out of two of those at the beginning of the match, whatever. So it's like. And I'm not, WWE, like AEW's bad. They both have great products, and everybody's, fantastic workers and everything. But it's the difference in dichotomy, and you see the, professionalism, and when compared to like an independent wrestling show.
Right.
yeah. Well, Jay, we're getting close. I know we like to keep it to an hour, right around an hour. So we're getting close to that mark, and I want to be respectful of your time and everyone else's. But before we get you off the hook, we always ask people, where can we find you in the ring coming up in the next few weeks? And where can people follow you on socials?
Let's see, what is today? Okay, so Algona next week, Algona, Iowa, May 10th. Will be, I believe it's at Flora Hall again for Absolute Pro Wrestling. And then May 17th, I will be back in Waterloo. We have the big tag title rematch that we finally got at Waterloo for Super Slam 3 with Absolute Pro Wrestling. And then on the 24th, I have a show with Social X as well with Ethan in Mason City with the Youth and Energy Cup, where, believe it or not, they have the Rock and Roll Express and Enzo Amore coming. So,
so that's why we've been watching some Rock and Roll Express. Okay,
that's not exactly, but it was funny because they had just had Ricky Morton booked at first, and I was just shooting the shit with Jason Pringle, the promoter, and I was like, what about Morton? What about Gibson? And he's like, I never even thought to ask Robert Gibson or whatever. And then all of a sudden, he's got Robert Gibson on the show too, and I'm like, that's not what I was trying to do. I was kind of looking him, but okay, that'll be cool. So, and then my socials are all at Jay Wesley 319, Jay Wesley on Facebook. Facebook and Instagram are obviously my most active feeds, but I am really bad with the social medias, but Facebook especially, I am decent on, and Instagram, so I try to stay up and keep everybody up to date.
Sure. Anytime we can sit and talk wrestling for an hour is great. Anytime we can sit and talk wrestling for an hour with someone we've never talked with before is even better. And the icing on the cake is he loves Bret Hart, CZ. So I think
yes.
That's I knew that would pop you, Nick.
Never wrong.
And I have a lot of love for Bret. So
I know you do.
But Jay, I want to thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate you being a part of the show. I will see you in Waterloo in a couple weeks. I'm excited for that. And Nick, we've got the Kickout returning for the first time in a few weeks on Wednesday.
Kickout returns on Wednesday.
That's what's coming up.
Kickout returns on Wednesday, our short form midweek show. Check it out. It'll be back on the air Wednesday at 6. Is that right, CZ? All right, Wednesday at 6.
Yes,
check it out, the Kickout. We got a fresh one for you. A lot of fun stuff, man. Anytime you can get together and talk wrestling is great. So
big announcements with Jay Wesley.
Agreed.
I love it, So, but it's been great talking to you guys.
We've had a blast, Jay. Anytime you want to come back and chat is great. You were great and had a lot of fun talking to you.
You guys too. I appreciate it very much.
Absolutely. Yeah. Look forward to seeing you come back down the road, but that is going to wrap things up for us here tonight on Card Subject to Change. For my tag team partner, Never Wrong, Nick Bull, I am the Wizard CZ. Thanks again to Jay Wesley. We are the Card Subject to Change podcast, the podcast by the fan, for the fan, powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo. We'll see you on Wednesday for the Kickout and right back here next week for another edition of Card Subject to Change.
This has been a For Frequency's Sake Podcast Network production. For more great content, subscribe to For Frequency's Sake on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter.